Barbie!
Since its debut, the Barbie movie's been an absolute phenomenon, making over $1 billion at the box office and bringing joy to Barbie fans of nearly all ages. But beyond the clever story and the positive messages that the film tries to spread, one of its greatest strengths is its characters. So let's take a look at where they fall on the morality spectrum. I'm Keefe Enosi with Wicked Binge, and this is Barbie, good to most heroic. While the film certainly has antagonists and characters who do not so great things, we feel there isn't really a true traditional villain in this movie, hence why we're going to be ranking the characters from the most flawed and antagonistic to the pure-hearted and the heroic. Also, major spoilers ahead. Obviously, if we're starting with the least good character of the film, we unfortunately have to go with Beach Ken, or maybe we should just call him Ryan Gosling Ken. He certainly causes the most conflict, whether it be due to his own misconceptions of the patriarchy or his desire to give his life some meaning outside of his relationship with Barbie. Either way, Beach Ken definitely shakes up Barbie Land when he encourages the rest of the Kens to take over, forcing the Barbies to become subservient and turning the dream houses into Mojo Dojo Casa houses. Now, while we can't excuse any of these actions as two wrongs don't make a right, we can still somewhat sympathize with Ken, and as such we can't really call him evil, nor even that actually power-hungry, despite his takeover of Barbie Land. Much like stereotypical Barbie, Ken is simply searching for purpose and something that'll make him feel happy and fulfilled. This leads to him eventually discovering, thanks to Barbie's encouragement and guidance, that he's better off loving himself and seeing himself as Ken-enough.
There is no just Ken.
It's hard to overlook his actions though, and so when it comes to the extra medals, we'd say the Envy one fits him fairly well, given all his actions are driven by trying to get something someone else has, whether that be attention, love, power, or just happiness. We'd like to quickly mention another Ken character, that being Rival Ken, played by Simu Liu. Throughout the first third of the film, as the Barbies and Kens go about their day-to-day lives, we see Rival Ken go out of his way to try and outshine Beach Ken. This ranges from trying to get Barbie's attention away from Beach Ken and making fun of him for his epic workout, to actively dancing with and flirting with Barbie at her big dance party. Simply put, Rival Ken seems to overall just get a kick out of messing with Beach Ken, making him stand out among the other Kens, and Alan. While they do briefly work together during the Barbie Land takeover, there's still a bit of tension there. When the Barbies enact their plan and re-spark their rivalry, the two Kens don't hesitate to go toe-to-toe with each other during the big beach brawl. However, we see that Rival Ken is willing to put aside his and Beach Ken's differences, the two of them just showing solidarity with each other and the other Kens at the end of the big I'm Just Ken musical number. Right above him is the film's other main antagonist, the Mattel CEO. Gee, if we had a nickel every time Will Ferrell played a businessman in a meta movie about a children's toy, we'd have 2 nickels. And you know the rest of this meme by now. Anyway, while he's the main conflict while Barbie's in the real world, compared to Beach Ken, this guy just isn't much of a threat, coming off as fairly silly and weird instead of actually threatening, despite his attempts to put Barbie back in her box. But while him and his guards chasing after Barbie may put him in a bad light, we eventually learn that the Mattel CEO genuinely cares about his company's customers, namely little girls, and wants to keep Barbie Land, and by extension the Barbie brand, the way it is for their sake, having good intentions that go beyond the bottom line when it comes to sticking to the status quo. This is shown when, even after he's told the Ken-altered toys are selling just as well as Barbie's, he still chooses to venture into Barbie Land in the hopes of returning it back to normal. Granted, he doesn't end up doing much to help, arriving long after the conflict has already been resolved, but hey, it's the thought that counts. Although we will say, his dopiness and admittedly strange methods do earn him the Darwin Medal. Keeping with the harshness that the real world can sometimes provide, next on our list is Sasha. The simplest way to describe Sasha is that she's very much in her teen angst phase, and unfortunately, that means she tends to take this out on nearly everyone around her in spite of her efforts to be progressive. While she may not be a rage monster, she certainly is the character most likely to take home our Wrath medal for her actions in the first half of the film. Obviously, the most memorable moment is when she calls Barbie a fascist and very much bashes her for setting back women's rights by being so stereotypically feminine. Beyond that, Sasha is also incredibly dismissive of her mother, and if the kids at her school are to be believed, she can be a pretty big bully and is known for tearing people down with vicious insults. Thankfully, what saves her from being just the mean girl is that once she's dragged into Barbie Land with her mother, she finally begins to let go of some of that meanness. She gains newfound respect for her mom, with the two of them being on better terms by the end of the film, and does what she can to support the Barbies, even being the one to say that they can't just leave them to remain brainwashed by the Kens. It's a nice character arc for her, to say the least. Now, with how much a lot of the Barbies and Kens blend together, it can be hard for most of them to stand out, but we would like to give special mention to President Barbie. She's the universally loved leader of Barbie Land. While her duties are very much catered to what a child thinks the president does, this doesn't stop President Barbie from coming coming off as both a capable leader and a strong ally to her fellow Barbies, making decisions that pretty much everyone agrees are great, all while giving out plenty of compliments. Needless to say, she genuinely cares about all the citizens of Barbieland, and at the end, she apologizes to Weird Barbie for calling her weird, which is just nice to see. She also readily agrees with stereotypical Barbie that they should have treated the Kens better. While it's evident that it'll possibly be a too slow process, President Barbie does put the effort in to at least start making things more equal and even agrees to give the Kens a circuit court position. That's something. Speaking of standing out, next up we have the one and only Alan. Not quite a Ken unless you count being his buddy, but still a friend to the Barbies. Alan is a character who's both fun and incredibly endearing. While he does care a lot about Beach Ken and worries about him when he gets hurt, all in spite of his struggles to feel truly included and accepted within the group, Alan still isn't afraid to try and help fix things later on in the film, understanding that what the Kens were doing to Barbieland was wrong. Although, to be fair, he does first try to escape into the real world with Gloria and Sasha, citing that other Allens have done it before without any problems, but even in this scene, he still ends up showing his bravery when he takes out all the construction worker Kens so that they can escape. While he is reluctant to return to Barbieland afterwards, he still does what he can to help with the other Barbies' grand plan. So, hey, maybe a better way to describe him is that he can be everyone's buddy, not just Ken's. Either way, Alan certainly seems like one of the nicer guys in Barbieland in spite of his awkwardness. Reaching the upper half of our list, we finally come to the main star of the film, herself. That being Margot Robbie's stereotypical Barbie. Acting as sort of the every woman, stereotypical Barbie is meant to represent the average woman as well as the struggles that come with simply finding ways to be happy and accepting the ups and downs of life. With her Barbie-ness comes an inherent desire to inspire and help girls and women be who they want to be, even when Barbie herself struggles with figuring that out. Additionally, Barbie is shown to be kind and forgiving to both Sasha and Ken, even after they hurt her, showing her strength of character in spite of any angst or insecurity she may have deep down. Though, speaking of Ken, that leads to one of her most notable flaws. While she might not have owed Ken a romantic relationship, given that she didn't seem to be interested in romance at all, Barbie was still incredibly dismissive towards Ken whenever he expressed his needs or feelings of loneliness. After getting her own words thrown back at her, Barbie grows to understand how she could have been both a better communicator and a better friend towards Ken. She tells him point blank that she doesn't want a romance with him before then encouraging him to love himself and find his own purpose outside of just being someone's romantic partner. Overall, while this Barbie certainly isn't a picture-perfect doll, she puts in the effort to both help others and better herself throughout the film, managing to represent the different sides of being a woman and eventually even becoming human herself. But what is a doll without the people who help bring her to life? For our Bronze Medal of Good, we're giving it to Ruth Handler. It's a bit weird for a ghost to just casually be living in the offices of Mattel, but hey, it works, I guess. Anyway, Ruth very much fills in the kind creator role, being the literal creator of Barbie. When stereotypical Barbie first meets her, Ruth is kind and caring, giving her a cup of tea and a moment to rest as well as a way to escape the Mattel CEO. Later on, Ruth arrives in Barbieland and tells Barbie that she never needed to be perfect. When Barbie decides that she wants to become human, Ruth is both patient and honest with her, showing just how much she cares about her creation. While she's admittedly more of a representation of the film's theme than a fully fleshed out character, the impact Ruth has on both Barbie herself as well as the film's possibly tear-jerking finale still earns her a high rank in our list. Moving on to the Silver Medal of Good, we have the most unique Barbie of them all, Weird Barbie. As her name implies, she's the Barbie who fits in the least, having a strange outfit and messed up hair, all because a child played with her too much, too hard. But with this outcast status comes a bigger understanding of the connections between Barbieland and the real world, and in spite of the other Barbies struggling to understand and accept her at first, Weird Barbie doesn't even hesitate to help them with their problems. She can be a bit pushy, as seen when stereotypical Barbie tries to refuse to go on her big journey, but she really just does want to help the other Barbies. She welcomes other outcast dolls into her home, and she's also the one leading the charge in trying to deprogram the Barbies when the Kens take over. Again, showing how helpful she can be despite her whole appearance and attitude, making it seem like she'd be the least sociable Barbie. The fact that Weird Barbie doesn't even hold it against the others when they kind of insult her to her face shows how forgiving she can be, and if her excitement about being given a government role in sanitation is any indication, this Weird Barbie's going to be helping her fellow Barbies in her own unique way for many years to come. Finally, our Gold Medal of Good is going to Gloria. Both a Barbie fan herself, as well as an employee at Mattel, Gloria almost becomes a secondary protagonist as we see her change, help, and inspire stereotypical Barbie. Though, speaking of change, she's admittedly the one to accidentally start Barbie's whole existential crisis thing in the first place. Once Gloria realizes this, however, she immediately makes it her responsibility to help Barbie. First, by getting her back to Barbieland, then by giving her an empowering speech, the latter of which many have considered to be one of the biggest highlights of the movie. In addition to the kindness and support she shows Barbie, Gloria also does her best to be patient with her daughter, even while sometimes being frustrated with her teen angst. This is a woman who is honestly trying her best, and through this, she's able to bring out the best in others, both accidentally and actively. As such, we feel she more than earns our highest honor.